Hello, welcome to our presentation on collaborative action research. This presentation is done by Tommy Hernandez, Alejandra Perez, and Andres Daza. The agenda for today, we will go over classrooms, demographics, supports provided, collaboration, similarities and differences, quality of education, dimensions of multicultural education, the conclusion, and references. The classrooms that were seen in the observations were from 3 different schools and 10 different classrooms. The classroom consisted of general education inclusion classrooms and co-taught classrooms. There were about 20 to 30 students per class, all ranging from 11 to 18 years old. The demographics of the classrooms, most of the classrooms had a majority of Latinos. There were Latinos, white, African American, Asian Pacific Islander in the classrooms, but most were Latino. There were minor differences in clothing. The most visual difference was in hair. A lot of boys had either really short hair, another chunk had really curly long hair, while another one had something that they refer to as an Edgar haircut. It kind of looks like a bowl haircut. The English language was the most common language heard, and only a few students spoke Spanish. The supports provided that were seen in the observation through assistive technology, we saw Chromebooks, iPads, reading software that also enlarged text and provided instant definitions just by highlighting a word. Projectors were seen in the classroom and screens. Most classrooms had 2 screens, and headphones to use with their iPad or Chromebook. Some more supports provided were accommodations. There was one student who had a textbook with a larger print. Another student had noise canceling headphones to reduce distractions. That same student had an aide assisting him with activities and seating. Teachers, some teachers tended to sit students with vision impairments towards the front of the classroom. Modifications were also seen by allowing students extra time to submit assignments or providing assignments with fewer questions. Collaboration in the classroom. The main collaboration seen was the one teach, one assist strategy, where the primary teacher, typically the general education teacher, presents the content, while the special education teacher assists students who need help, who have questions. This allows the primary teacher to teach the lesson with very little interruptions. In one classroom, the station teaching strategy was witnessed. In this classroom, the classroom is split into 3 groups. Group 1 is for students who did not understand the content that was given the day before. The special educator teaches this group and sticks with them the entire time, modeling and teaching them how to do it and giving examples. The second group, it's for students who have a general understanding, and the general educator teaches this lesson and will guide them and model towards the beginning of the lesson, and then towards the middle and the end allow students to work independently or in groups while she walks around assisting. The last group was for students who demonstrated knowledge and understanding of the content, and they got to work on their iPad individually. There were a lot of similarities and differences that were noticed throughout the classrooms. For example, for assistive technology, Ms. Clay and Ms. Clamor provided a video of a person reading the text out loud while her students followed along. This was in contrast to Ms. Portillo, who read the text out loud while her students followed along on their iPads or screen projector. This is a minor difference, but we did notice that there was a different level of engagement here because Ms. Portillo added a personalized touch by reading it herself. There was also differences in assistive technology, the use of headphones. Various teachers provided students with headphones to use while working on their iPad or Chromebooks, while one teacher, Ms. Menendez, provided headphones to a student to reduce noise, reducing distractions for that student. A similarity found across all teachers was that every student was provided with a Chromebook or iPad, and students used this technology device to enlarge font, highlight keywords, work on assignments, and submit work. Seating somewhat varied within the classrooms. Ms. Clay, for example, allowed students to get up and move closer to the board during a lesson to copy the notes that they're not able to see from where they're sitting. Mr. Hedden, on the other hand, assigned students with vision impairments to sit closer to the board to avoid them standing and distracting the classroom. Another difference was through textbook. Mr. Hedden provided one of his students, as mentioned earlier, with the vision impairment, access to a book with a large print on it. Modifications were also seen. Ms. Moore allows her students about a week extra to turn in their work, her students with disabilities, while Ms. Barangas gives a modified version with fewer questions. The quality of education that was seen throughout the classrooms, the most commonly used practices that incorporated practices related to the content that we learned in this course were the use of technology, use of visual aids, the variety and way that assignments are turned in, whether written or verbal, allowing more time for assignments, testing in a different location if needed, applying knowledge construction, and cultural inclusivity. An example of this would be Ms. Rodriguez. In her classroom, she has two projectors with two screens to allow easier access to view the screen. She provides guided notes, visual aids that are visually pleasing. She highlights important text, provides various images, and enlarges the text in her presentations for easier viewing. Ms. Clammer provided knowledge construction in her classroom by having small group discussions of The Great Gatsby. Mr. Hartshorn provided cultural inclusivity by speaking Spanish in the classroom, especially by greeting students in Spanish. There was, however, room for improvement for some teachers. Some teachers lacked knowledge construction, adapting different teaching methods for different periods. They lacked collaborating with other students, and the pace of class was just not right. An example of this is Ms. Clamor. Her lesson was extremely fast paced, which could be an obstacle for students with a disability. She admitted that she does not collaborate with any adults, although she does have students with IEPs or disabilities in her classroom, and she has not attended an IEP meeting. As for the dimensions of multicultural education seen in the classroom, content integration was seen through teachers incorporating books with representation of different cultures and then discussing them. Through the Diary of Anne Frank, students discussed the Jewish culture, and through a book called The Circuit, students discussed the Latin culture, particularly Mexican culture. In the classrooms, we also witnessed knowledge construction, and we saw this in one classroom, for example, that was learning how to read and analyze a book on Greek mythology, also watched a film on the book, and then analyzed why these two sources that were meant to provide the same content had variations and differences throughout them. The prejudice reduction dimension was also witnessed. There was an activity called What Would You Pack? Students were asked to pretend that they had to go in hiding and could only place a few items in their backpack. So then students were able to share through the items that they said they would put in their backpack, they were able to share their identity and culture with the rest of the class. Another activity asked students to to share if they had a special dish that united their family. Students were able to share their culture through food, and some students related to others, others asked for more information or pictures. In all, they developed positive attitudes towards cultural differences. The dimension of equity pedagogy was seen through social contracts that were in every classroom. This was a list of behavior expectations written by students where they formed ideas on how they should behave in the classroom. Students were able to understand that everyone has different ideas what behavior looks like, but coming together in the classroom, they understand that everybody should abide by the rules that they created. Seating was another form of equity pedagogy. Nowhere were seats separated by race, gender, ability, or disability. The last dimension that was witnessed was empowering school culture. This was seen through teachers reminding students of important school events by integrating student cultures in the lesson plan, creating a comfortable and safe environment for them, by emphasizing the importance of school, encouraging them to attend, explaining why school is important, and encouraging them to go to college through decorations that they had in their classroom, and one teacher by calling her student scholars. In conclusion, teachers are aware of the importance of the five dimensions of multicultural education and of the need to provide students with accommodations or modifications to ensure that every student has an equal chance to learn. However, not every teacher met all the dimensions, but they did try. They didn't meet it either because of lack of support, or we noticed that co-teaching versus single teacher. The single teachers met less of the dimensions, maybe because they didn't have somebody to help them. Cultural and linguistic diversity was seen in almost all the classrooms, and we learned that it is important for all teachers to apply the five dimensions of multicultural education. Thank you so much for listening.